Sometimes people will use fake credentials to bolster their credibility. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I've worked in the mental health sector for many years, as well as I've worked with survivors and perpetrators of abuse. And I just want to respond to this comment here and, about, this commenter had commented on my post about don't believe, everything that you see on social media. Some of these people who, these coaches and these advocates and things like that are not who they portray themselves to be. And this commenter says, I was just wondering about the pathology of content creators who create fake credentials to sell mental health courses. For example, brain pattern expert, trauma reframing specialist, so on and so forth. So she goes on with her question, right? And so definitely click on the comment to see the original post. But I want to respond to this and say people don't only do this on social media where they sort of create fake credentials, or they may say, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and therefore now I'm an expert psychologist, right? And we've seen this a number of times. In fact, some people may say I'm some sort of expert and I'm some sort of whatever, but they actually don't have any sort of expertise in working with the field. They don't have any sort of certifications, or even if you took a class, sometimes they give you like a weekend, you can do like a course over the weekend, you can do a little online course and get like a little digital certificate. And it's not the same as having hands-on experience and working with the public. And while I can respect anyone who gets their bachelor's degree, that is not a degree that says that I am now an expert in the field of psychology or human health. Hate to say it that way, but it's just not. Because most of the time when people get, I would say, I don't know of any undergraduate program in psychology that requires you to get hands-on. So you don't do like any sort of internship or anything like that. So you're just literally going to take classes. And classes are great, but you can be intellectually smart or be intellectually trained in something, but intellectual experience is nothing like real world experience. But anyhow, I see people that create fake credentials, not just on social media, but again, like I said, on television. That seems to be the norm too, especially on a lot of Black television shows. I don't know what it is about Black television shows. I see so much of them sort of going towards coaches and things like that. Everything except for a licensed mental health professional. When you have people that have these personalities, when you have people that have these genuine bona fide issues, they need to be seeing a licensed professional. Their credentials need to be checked. Their license needs to be in good standing. And so it's one of those things where, unfortunately, you have a lot of people that try to use verbiage that's confusing, so that some people and these people will have a huge following, they'll have huge profiles, they'll say like great stuff that they picked up here and there along the way. Typically it comes from somebody else, it's just sort of reworded in another way, but they're pathological personalities that are touting themselves as an authentic figure of mental health or trauma or something like that, when it's not the same. And meanwhile, these same people a lot of times will sort of poo-poo seeing a licensed professional. So just a public service announcement about that. Whenever people are using fake credentials or trying to hide something, and their experience isn't what they say it is, they are repurposing content, a lot of it which they've gotten from other legitimate sources. So be careful about who you consume, who you buy things from, and there's no way around, there's no workaround. There's a lot of people that come out with a lot of different things, programs here and there, and they try to say that counseling and things doesn't work. I'm here to tell you it does work. I see a professional myself. I also have clients that come to see me, very high profile clients that I've worked with over the years, and they, towards the end of accepting, referrals, because I'm not really accepting any new referrals for counseling. Most of my clients were coming to me from word of mouth. And it wasn't because, it was because I had a reputation of getting results. Like, people would come to me because they got results in counseling. And people would come to me after all these sort of radical treatments like EMDR and things like that. These programs that are like, once you have EMDR, that's it. No, that's not it. And so a lot of them would come to me after that because there's often disclaimers that go with other programs, like the next new thing. Every few years in psychology or mental health, there's always some brand new treatment. It's ketamine, it's psychedelic, it's EMDR, it's DBT. It's always this like miracle program that like they try to sell, that's going to stop all of your problems, and that is not the case. And I'm not going to say that some of these aren't wonderful, and that they don't do great work, because they do, but very seldom. There's never been one type of treatment modality that is like an end-all, cure-all, be-all, that does a workaround outside of psychotherapy. And when psychotherapy is done right, it does. It moves mountains. It heals things, even with difficult to treat people. And again, this is coming from years of doing psychotherapy with inmates and people who've done horrible things. There can be a lot of great things that are done, but be careful from someone who claims to be some kind of healer and has fake credentials. There is that happens all the time. In fact, there was a woman that recently that and every few years there's always some big case of people who get in trouble for having fake credentials. I think it was like the 15 or 16-year-old down in Atlanta who is the fake OBGYN and had a thriving, successful obstetrics and gynecology practice, and his credentials were not real. This is a kid out of Atlanta, and he had a history of doing these elaborate schemes. Very successful con man until he wasn't. But that's an example of like how people can really, do these things. But look it up. That's a real story. He got prison time, but that's an example of someone who used fake credentials, and it wasn't his first rodeo. He'd done that several times over with other things. But his schemes kept becoming more and more elaborate, which is why, when you have coaches, especially those ones that are grifters, they typically tend to repurpose themselves and become more elaborate. So one year you may see them doing red pill content. The next year you may see them being a woman's love coach, right? And so you could see these people just sort of gradually move through, almost like an expected cycle of being a con artist. We see you. Hope that helps. Thanks for saying this. This is a great comment. Like, follow, and share for more.